Hello everyone and welcome to some extremely joyous news from the chess world. We have a new youngest Grandmaster. It is United States International Master Abhimanyu Mishra, now a Grandmaster, and it was quite the journey. He finally reached his third Grandmaster norm, and for those of you who are new to chess, to achieve the title of Grandmaster, you need 3 Grandmaster norms, which means you need to finish 3 tournaments with an ELO rating performance over 2600, which is not a small feat, and you need to have an actual rating in classical chess over 2500. So those are the requirements of to becoming a grandmaster. And here, going into this tournament, Mishra already had 2 norms and he had a rating of 2500. So he just needs to do well in this tournament, and by just I mean he has to fare well against many strong grandmasters to achieve the third final norm and achieve his title of grandmaster. And here he faces 67th Indian grandmaster. He got his grandmaster title in January this year, Leon-Luc Mendonca, and he's, well, as you'll see in this game, a very fierce opponent. So without further ado, let's check it out, and we're gonna discuss a little bit more after we check out the game. And also, this is it was played in the last round of the Vezerkepzo Grandmaster Mix in Budapest, where he got all of his norms, and also he was doing extremely well in the tournament. He was on 5 out of 6, and then he lost to Slovak Grandmaster Milan Pacher. Then he bounced back in round 8 with a win, and now this is round 9, the final round, and it's quite the game. So without further ado, let's check it out. Mendonca with the white pieces opens with d4, and the game, as you'll see, is very nice. So knight to f6, we have c4, g6, knight to c3, and Mishra goes for d5. He goes for the Gruenfeld defense, and now common here is just captures or knight f3, but Mendonca goes for bishop to f4. Also very popular. We have bishop to g7 and now e3. We have castles by Abhimanyu and now rook to c1, going for the Capablanca variation against this line of the Gruenfeld. We have c5 striking in the center, and now d captures on c5. So it's a temporary pawn sacrifice, so you want to grab some rapid development. Bishop to e6, we have knight to f3. White also needs to continue developing pieces. He has to get his king to safety. Black king is already very safe on that g8 square. Knight to c6 and the bishop to e2 now. So white now also ready to castle with, and here comes queen to a5. So black can always pick up the pawn. It's not really an issue, but black is enjoying his position very much. And here we have knight to g5, just going after that bishop on e6. So what did Abhimanyu prepare for this game? Well, the position has been reached before. Known moves are rook 8 to d8, rook f to d8, knight to e4, also a known move. But here we have knight back to d8, and it is now already, as of move 10, that we have a completely new game. So defending this bishop and saying, if you go for it, for example, knight captures, captures, and captures, I'm just going to capture on f4, mess up your pawn structure here, and then, well, the position is just very nice for black. Yes, you do have 2 pawns, but after some like rook to d8, you will never be able to keep them. I'm just going to play queen captures on c5, and that's it. For example, castles, queen captures on c5, and then white is left with the isolated d pawn, which you can of course play if you enjoy isolated pawns. Some do, some don't, but he decides against it, as well, he knows that this is unexplored territory, so he just retreats. Bishop to g3, and now d captures on c4. This is now a nicely protected pawn. We have knight captures on e6, eliminating the defender of the pawn, knight captures, and now queen to a4, offering a queen trade, but Abi, of course, doesn't want to trade. He goes queen captures on c5, and now bishop captures on c4. And here we have queen to b6, saying, okay, your king is still in the center of the board. I'm just going to put some pressure here on the b pawn, and I want to clear the c file for my rooks. So what do you play here? So here, queen to b3, offering a queen trade, and now black accepts. We have queen captures on b3, bishop captures, and now knight to c5, looking to ruin white's pawn structure with knight captures bishop here, and this is a very strong bishop. White still has the bishop pair, so you do want to eliminate one of them. So now those who enjoy playing with the bishop pair probably will go bishop back to c2 and tuck the bishop in for later, but here Mendonca says, nope, I'm just gonna play king e2, bring my rook into the game, and you're welcome to capture here. I don't see any problems. So knight captures on b3, a captures, and now the rooks come into the game. Rook f to d8, rook h to d1, and now knight to e8, opening up this dark square bishop's diagonal, but also just shifting the knight into the game via maybe d6 or c7 later on. So here we have a trade of rooks. We have rook captures, and now he offers a trade of the other pair of rooks as well. He could keep the rooks on the board, go rook to a1, or just start advancing pawns, but he decides to take the rooks off the board, and he wants to play this minor piece endgame. So here we have rook captures on d1 and king captures on d1, and now comes knight to f6. So now the knight comes back into the game. We have king to c2 and now knight to d7. And now black is looking into playing something like f5, e5. He does have some nice control of the e5 squares, and then start bringing his king into the game. And you do have an advantage on the queen side as black has doubled b pawn, so it's definitely a weakness. Whether you can take advantage of this, it all depends on what white plays. So here b4, taking away the b5, the c5 square from black's knight, also just making room for the king so he can enter the game. We have f5 and now knight to b5, attacking the a7 pawn. We have a6 and now knight to c7. So what do you play here? Black starts bringing the king into the game, king f7, now comes b5, but by white, obviously. Trying to trade off a pair of pawns, we have a5. Black wants to keep as many pawns on the board as black has doubled pawns. White has doubled pawns, black doesn't, so of course black doesn't want to get rid of white's only weakness for free, so of course he advances the pawn. We have knight to d5 and now knight to c5. We have bishop to c7 now going after the a5 pawn, and a4 now defending. So how do you prevent the white king from entering the game? Well, so far you're doing a fine job. The pawn guards this square, the bishop covers this square, and the knight covers this square. So the king is for the moment locked out of the game. But we have f3. White isn't really worried about that, and king e6, dislodging the knight from such a powerful square. Knight to c3, and now he asks, what are you gonna do here? I can't go forward with my king, but I'm not even trying to. It's you who need a win to become the youngest grandmaster ever. So here Abhimanyu makes a very interesting choice, and he plays bishop captures on c3, and it seems odd giving up a long-range piece like that when we have play on both sides of the board. The entire board is still full of pawns. But the thing is, after king captures on c3, notice that his pawns are all on light squares. Okay, except this one, but that's easily fixable. And the opponent has a dark square bishop. So maybe, just maybe, the knight is a little bit better here than the bishop. But we'll see what happens. King to d5. You have to bring your king as close as possible to the action. And now bishop to d8, forcing black to get rid of this pawn from a dark square. So while you could play e6, he decides to advance it all the way to e5, and then he's going to push it to e4 to lock his pawns on light squares this way. So bishop to e7, and now knight to b3. Both of them were already very low on time here, so calculating whether you can allow the trade here and maybe just go into a king and pawn endgame. There's no need to do this. Chances are higher of just prolonging the game as long as needed to achieve a win with pieces on the board. And here we have h3. Here white could have gone with king to b4, but like I said, both of them were low on time. It's hard to calculate everything. The point is here your a4 pawn is now under attack, and black has to resort to this. Knight d2, king captures, knight c4 now, attacking these two pawns, and once white defends one of them, let's say bishop g5, now you pick up this pawn with check, king a5, and now knight to c4 locks out the king from entering deeper into the position. You have to go back, and now knight d6, and the game continues. But it's not much for black. White is actually very happy with this, so might not be a bad idea. White played h3 instead, and now black maybe gets a pretty valuable tempo. So here we have e4, f captures on e4, and now not king captures, which seems like a good idea, but f captures instead. And why did he capture with the pawn instead of with the king? Well, this is his plan. King to b4, attacking the pawn, and now knight to d2. So again, what do you play here? Here we have bishop to f6. Now after the knight attacks both of these pawns, you can always shift the bishop here to help out with the defense. And now, again, you could go for knight to c4, but then we play this, and then, for example, knight to d2, king captures on a4. We're going to play king to c4, and whether white can survive this king march going after these pawns, it's hard to say and very hard to calculate under, well, being low on time. So instead, after bishop to f6, we have h5, and now comes king captures on a4, king to c4. Now, well, winning a lot of important squares here. We have king to a5 going for this to pick off the b7 pawn, and now knight to b3 check, king to b6, and now knight to c5 defending this pawn. So what do you play here? Well, for the moment, you can't really move your king as the knight would be hanging. So here, just bishop to d4, defending all of the pawns, attacking the knight. And black is not doing great here. He's down a pawn, and it seems like he maybe got into a little bit of trouble. But there's a saying, whenever there's a knight on the board, there's a chance. Knight to b3. So what do you play here? If you go for king captures on b7, then we play knight captures on d4, and of course, if pawn captures, then this pawn advances. But this is even playable, but you have to play b6. And I mean, who can calculate these things under severe time pressure? For example, knight to e6, you're going to play king to c6 to get your pawn up the board, but now we're going to play h4. And now, after king to d6, going after the knight, because if you advance the pawn here, for example, you push b7, we can just play knight to d8 check and give the piece back and win the pawn. So we're going to play king, for example, to d6, but now comes knight to c5. Again, we guard the b7 square, and now we're going to play b3 with check, trying to get the king away from the defense of the knight, or the knight from the defense of the b7 square. And now, after king to b4, we're gonna play king to d5, king to b5 now, and then b7. But now knight captures, king captures on e4, and this all resolves in a draw. So here, after knight to b3, we have bishop to f6 by white, and now comes king to b4. But now, only now, king captures on b7. And this was a bit rushed. You don't have to go for it right away. You should keep the tension, play something like g4 maybe. But here, he captured the pawn right away. And now, black captures on b5. We have king to c7, king to c4, king to d6, and now king to d3. So now it's again a race. We have bishop to g5 defending the pawn, and now knight to d2. And here, the thing is, you have to play b4 or some like king to e6, and you're doing fine. But white played king to e5, and he allowed black such a sneaky maneuver that, you know, it's almost as if CAISSA smiled at young Abi. You know, just to achieve this prestigious title at such a young age. So feel free to pause the video here and try to find the absolute best move for black while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting the nasty fork. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's knight to f3 with check. And now, what do you play here? Well, you most certainly don't capture the knight. You have to play king to f4, and then you are, again, allowed to draw this game. For example, knight captures on g5, king captures on e3, and now b4 is enough to draw the game. King f2, we're going to play b5, e3, b6, e2, b7, and now both players get a queen into the game, and that's it. There's no winning this. It's completely equal queen and pawn endgame. So instead, after knight to f3 check, he didn't move the king, he captured the knight. He accepted the challenge, but this will lead to his demise, as after e captures on f3, we now have bishop to h4. You have to guard this square. If you don't, then black's just going to promote to a queen. And now g5. White cannot accept this pawn, because then we just get a queen. So instead, we have bishop to f2, but now comes king to e2, further harassing the bishop. And now there's no escaping, because if you go here, we follow, and if you go here, we follow, and that's it. That's just game. You're going to promote this pawn again to a queen and win the game. So here, white started pushing the pawn, but now it's simply too slow, because there's a very, very neat trick in the end. King captures on f2 was played b5. We have king captures on e3. f3, b6, we have f2, b7, and now f1 queen. And it was in this position on move 55 that Leon-Luc Mendonca resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. The problem is, if white brings a queen into the game, we have this very, very nasty queen to f4 check, and now you have to move the king. We pick up the queen, and now, of course, it's completely winning for black. So really, really incredible. A lot of twists to this game, but like I said, it's almost as if CAISSA smiled at young Abhimanyu Mishra, so he will achieve this great achievement and break Karakin's record by over 2 months, as I've learned. So yeah, he became a Grandmaster now at the age of 12 years, 4 months, and 25 days, more than 2 months prior to Sergei Karakin, who's been holding the title for, I think, 18 or 19 years. So really, really incredible achievement. Congratulations to young Abhi. And well, as you see, they are getting younger and younger. Very soon we will be having an 11-year-old Grandmaster, then a 10-year-old Grandmaster, and then, I mean, it's just incredible how fast they are progressing, and how quickly, you know, they are achieving this incredible norm. So yeah, what's your take on that? I mean, it's simply incredible. Huge congratulations to young Abhi, and you know, wish you all the best in your future endeavors. So yeah, that's the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to join in the congratulations to young Abhi. I would like to thank Nigel Holloway, Leandro Moderson, happy birthday CCP, Constantino Bucci, and Vlad Ularu for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing the coverage of the other tournament that we're covering, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.